August 21st of 2013 was the day that Bashar al-Assad, the president of Syria, finally declared his zero tolerance towards his people's safety and his low respect towards the international community. It was the day in which that he initiated the use of chemical weapons in retaliation towards his people's rebellion. This has opened new debates and stances in the international community, and in this opportunity, the proposition would like to deliver our stance regarding the condition where we see that this House should intervene in Syria to prevent or respond the use of chemical weapons. We believe that this is reasonable due to 2 points of reasoning. First, on how sovereignty is no longer valid, Syria's sovereignty is no longer valid. Second, on how the Syrian government's aggressive nature is a threat to many nations, and thus investigation or confiscation of weapons is needed. Moving on to my first argument regarding validity of Syria's sovereignty. Before going on to core arguments, I'd like to firstly talk about the hierarchy of ideals recognized by the international community called the Jus Cogens ranging from strength from top to bottom. First is the UN Declaration of Human Rights. Second is this nation's sovereignty. Third is Pacta Sunt Servanda, or also known as the treaties or agreements which countries make, which become the law and legally binds these countries. Now we see that in the past, the reason why Syria has not been intervened, is because it still has its sovereignty regardless of the conflict inside, and we see that this is further enhanced. By the fact that Syria has support coming from 2 nations of the permanent members of the Security Council, which is China and Russia. We see that regardless of whether or not the UN agrees, or majority of the UN agrees or not, Syria is doing something bad towards its people, there was nothing that they can do with the fact that China and Russia has this backed up Syria due to this whatever reason that might be. But currently, due to the August 21st attack, we see that Syria has gone too far, ladies and gentlemen. We see that by using chemical weapons, not only that they have severely injured human rights, severely crossed the line regarding human rights, the UN's Human Rights Declaration of Human Rights, they've also intentionally crossed the line with the treaties regarding weapons of mass destruction, which the chemical weapons can be categorized as. Thus, we see that due to these 2 points of ideals that was considered holy for the international community has been crossed by Syria. We see that sovereignty then is no longer valid, and this is even enhanced by the fact that Russia and China are now slowly backing up their support towards Syria because they see that this is as something dangerous. We see that the point where Syria has used these chemical weapons, it's the point that nations should retaliate, whether it is true or not, and the fact whether it is proven or not, and it is the moment which nations should investigate in the name of human rights of the people of Syria, ladies and gentlemen. Second argumentation regarding Syria's government's aggressive nature. We see that clearly from the attacks before or after the August 21st attack, it was clear that the Syrian government has a very aggressive nature, ladies and gentlemen. Bashar al-Assad has a very aggressive nature towards his people, and also towards the international community. This is even proven by the August 21st attack, where he intentionally or unintentionally crossed the line and proved to the world that he does not care about the safety of his people. He does not care about the treaties that he has made or the country has made in the past, or the fact that he lives next to neighboring countries. We see that this is a sign of aggression, and we see that it is unsafe for a country proven to have chemical weapons inside the nation to have such power in such an unstable condition. I would like to acknowledge, give an analogy of it. Say you meet a drunken person with say you have a gun which is licensed, and we see that if the gun is licensed and the person is sober, we believe that it's okay for the person to have a gun in the name of self-defense. But in this case, if the person was drunk and holding a gun, of course you will not like that condition, and you will confiscate the gun off them until they become sober. This is the exact same condition that Syria has, ladies and gentlemen. The condition that Syria faces today, the fact that it is in uproar, the fact that it is in turmoil, turmoil due to its internal conflict, sees that this is a danger towards neighboring nations. This could also be a danger towards nations not that close to Syria, as we see that these weapons of mass destruction, whether they be chemical or biochemical weapons, sometimes recognizes no boundaries, like this. And they're not the bullets they're not like bullets where if you shoot then your wounds would heal in a certain amount of time. Sometimes these wounds caused by chemical weapons are irreversible, and cause major deaths, and sometimes they have no treatments over this. Since this is and the fact that the Syrian government's nature at the status quo further opposes this and further pushes us that we should at least confiscate these weapons off them until at least they have become more stable, or at least the government changes power, at least until Bashar al-Assad moves on from his power. Now, out of the two arguments, it was clear that there is actually no more reason for the nations, whether it be UN or whatever, to not intervene into Syria and confiscate their weapons in the name of human rights. First of all, in the fact that the sovereignty is no longer valid due to the crossing of the UN Declaration on Human Rights and the treaties that it has signed in the past regarding chemical weapons, and the fact that the current status quo of Syria is an aggressive nature, and this is a threat towards nations, not only neighboring nations, but also nations that can be sometimes out of reach, ladies and gentlemen. And this is even put worse when the media covers it. When the media covers it, we see that if this has gone too far, and when the media covers this, and the world knows it, that we're not doing anything, it would just be ridiculous, ladies and gentlemen. And under these 2 points of argumentation, we believe that it is the most rational thing for governments around the world to confiscate Syria's chemical weapons and intervene. Thank you. Use me as you will.